Okay, we just follow this Winnebago County Board of Adjustment deliberative session for February 2nd, 2023 to order. Is there any old business?
Who shall move the approval of minutes from January 5th, the deliberative, January 19th viewing, and January 24th, public hearing, all in 2023.
Second.
There's a motion made and seconded to approve the minutes from the January 5th, 2023, January 19th, 2023, and January 24th, 2023 meetings. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, motion carries. The one we have today is at 8514 Herbst Road in the town of Clayton, requesting a floodplain variance for side yards at 8.1 feet and 10.1 feet on the build a new house.
Before we continue, I did receive further correspondence from the town of Huygen recommending approval
You did,
outright, yeah,
you did, okay.
with their existing conditions and findings. That they say.
Is it town of Huygen or town of Winnington?
Oh, excuse me.
It's please.
Could be
This says Winnington.
Huygen on the agenda. Yeah, that should be Huygen.
Okay.
Well, I guess, I don't know, I mean, and I hope I'm not missing something here, but, you know, our standards say that the department questions that I'm using the property owner from using the property, prevent the property owner from using the property for the purpose. I guess I'm failing to see where the hardship is here. You know, their new plan, I mean, the way the house sits right now, you know, they're obviously on the east side, they would need a variance, but on the west side, they wouldn't if it stays in the existing footprint, correct?
They still would on the east side.
On the east side, yes,
Yeah.
but not on the west side.
Yeah,
Okay, and when I originally looked at this house, I guess I was reading this a little wrong. I thought that was all garage, but that's actually part living space coming down towards the south.
yes,
Okay.
on the west side.
And I mean, the lot is 90 feet wide, and I know they got issues with the setbacks, but if they stayed in their existing footprint,
If they detach the garage, do they need the fill requirement? Or is it just the garage?
Well, just the garage would be at or above. The house still would though.
so the garage could still be within the
The garage
floodplain
yeah, the garage could be in the
if it was
floodplain
detached.
if it was detached, as could an attached garage. The only difference would be the garage could be at or above, it wouldn't need to be 2 feet, and it doesn't need any fill around it.
It does not,
No,
even if it's attached.
Okay,
if it's attached, then it needs
All right.
15 feet
Yeah,
around
got
it,
What's the distance, what's the distance requirement between the house and the garage if it was a detached garage?
10.
10 feet.
10 feet, okay. So they're,
Yeah, and just to state again, on that east side, if they were to rebuild within the exact same footprint as they're allowed to, they still would need that 15-foot variance
On the east
correct,
on the
on
east side, yeah,
right,
so
right,
you're aware. Yeah.
right. And right now they're
Proposing
trending, well, how far,
10.1 on
Yeah,
the east side.
okay. Okay, you said it was 10 feet between the house and the garage? If
Yes.
it's detached?
Yep,
And it's the setback from the road is
30 feet
30 feet.
from the right of way.
So, you know, right now they're showing the house, the garage is being 45.5 feet from the right of way.
Mhm.
So that was still, I mean, with the full size of the garage. if they
It's a
had-
big garage.
Yeah, but I mean, they still would be within the setbacks.
yeah,
if
they could still
if
make it.
detached it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they do have options here,
They do.
you know, to possibly eliminate at least one of the requirements, or one of the side yard requirements. You know, and in my mind, I mean, this is I mean, it still boils down to hardship. And they still would have reasonable use of the property. You know, without having a variance on that west side. They'd have to obviously alter their plans. They didn't have the plans there to show us what they were going to do, but I mean, that's entirely up to them what they want to do.
Yeah, they just have the footprints,
Right,
so.
right.
Either way, they gotta get a variance though,
Mhm.
For that east side, if
for,
they're looking.
for
to
this
build-
house.
Yeah,
Well,
if they're looking to build in the existing
So we're,
footprint.
but even so, you know, on the east side,
yeah,
they could still stay within the footprint,
Yeah.
but just shrink it down a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
realistically, they don't need any variances to build a house on this
That
lot.
is correct.
well. They will for the floodplain, for the,
If they
the
could
fill.
meet that.
No.
could
Oh, if
meet
they
the-
move the house back.
Yeah, just.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Inside their.
Yeah, yeah.
existing-
If they stayed within here,
right,
they
within the,
and
yeah,
detached the garage, they would need no variance.
They
Right,
would still need to be 15 feet with the new build,
Okay, so
From
they
here.
still, and it is.
which would encroach into their existing footprint. So their 15 feet would probably land them right here within their existing footprint, so they're losing
Okay.
that.
They would lose
Space if
that.
they don't get a variance.
Okay,
Yeah,
so either way, they still need a variance.
no,
no, they could get around that by
Yeah.
meeting the setback and still staying within that existing footprint.
Oh, but you said that they would lose this.
Yeah, they
much
would
here
lose that much there.
Of their
existing.
footprint.
Yeah.
Okay.
but on
They'd
the
lose
other hand, I
Yeah,
mean,
okay.
I have no idea what their floor plan looks like, you know. But
Yeah,
if
I
they
don't-
want
This
to
is
have a
huge.
22 square foot house, 2,200 square foot house, they can still do it
mhm.
without any variances.
Cause they have to go second story anyway, cause of the boathouse.
Well, they could make the. Yeah, they could make the second, whatever, you know, second floor
Mhm.
bigger. I mean, and they still got options,
Mhm.
you know, choice of design or whatever, you know, I mean, it's.
Oh.
They could increase the dimension of the house from north to south too.
Well, not without having, no, they couldn't.
Yeah, they'd have an issue with the shore
Yeah,
yard
it's a short
setback.
yard setback, because they're within the 75 feet
Yeah,
from the
that's.
side.
So I'm talking about
Yeah, I know.
moving the front face
Right.
further south.
Well,
But
no,
they, this is the
Oh, yeah.
75
Yeah,
foot
'cause
setback.
they would need a variance for that,
Mhm.
as long as they stay within the existing footprint, they're. Within it somehow, they're fine. You know, so they, I mean. They still have options to have reasonable use of the property without having any kind of variance at all. In my mind, and and granted, I mean, this is just a preference. A personal preference, it's not really a
Want,
hardship.
not a need, yeah. Mhm.
You know, and they had mentioned that, you know, we asked them if they moved the garage over to the. So the proposed garage over to the east more, they said, well, we couldn't make the turn, well. You know, you can reconfigure the shape of the garage too, to have the, you know, coming straight off the road. I mean, there's plenty of options here, it's not like it's a. 40-foot lot that they really don't have much to work with, they have actually plenty of room to work with here.
Yeah, the main thing here is that 15 feet and then the shore yard cutting through. So,
Right. We just can't mess with the short yard setbacks.
Yeah, I mean, that's. They
I mean,
didn't
if it's,
ask.
I mean, the garage could still be configured whatever to be, it wouldn't lie within the shore yard setback. There's just, you know,
Yeah.
room there to do something else with it if they still wanted to have that size of garage. That's a pretty good set. Like Tom said, that's a pretty good size garage.
Mhm.
And if they attached it. You know, in a smaller attachment area to the house, I mean, they wouldn't need the setback for 15 feet. And they could move that whole thing over,
Yeah.
you know,
or stay with.
they could
outside.
attach it even, oh no, then they'd need
Well, no,
then they'd all have to
If
be
they were to-
15 feet.
If they were to attach that existing garage, it'd need to be at least a 20-foot area, you know,
Yeah.
20-foot wide area.
Yeah.
Per building code.
or for the garage.
Yeah, Yeah,
But, and this is, I don't know what the,
unless they were to make that garage, push that garage all the way up towards the house and meet the 15 feet on the west side,
Right.
As staff views it, their proposed house in the existing footprint should be allowed where it is, as they're grandfathered in, and that's a non-conforming structure. So we didn't have any issue with allowing the variance off that east side. And if you're gonna do that,
because of his grandfather.
because it is a non-conforming structure, and you, by the state of Wisconsin, you
Yeah.
have that right
Yeah.
to put it in the exact same footprint.
Okay.
So it's almost an inconvenience that they would have to come before the board for that east side already,
Right.
for the,
And right now, it looks like the west side was 17 point, am I reading that right, 17.9 feet? The existing
yep,
footprint,
17.9 from the existing to the side.
so they could still slide that over a foot and 3 inches, give them a little extra money on the west side without having a variance on that west side.
Yep, they could push out their house on that west side to 15 feet, exactly.
Mhm.
And that's the side with the neighbor.
Well, that's to the left side,
Yeah,
is looking at the,
Yeah.
the
that's
neighbor
like-
to the east is the individual.
No, was that
showed
the
up.
public hearing?
Right.
David?
Right.
You think he's got any issue? I mean, the neighbor to the east has any good claim on this, not on piston and moan about this basically, or because it just seems like there's nothing he can do with, if there is, I mean, his issue is where the water is gonna go.
Mhm.
right,
And
Mhm.
looking at that, I mean, it's gonna go to the lake, obviously, and it's right there, and it
Yeah.
has been doing it forever.
right,
And nothing's ever been done to improve that shoreline and to, as far as keep it from eroding anymore. And that the fact that the high water mark just keeps moving back is not, I don't think, this gentleman's problem. I don't know that he's even really's got much of a claim on him being injured by us granting this variance. And that would be,
well, I think his main issue was if we
His
we
drainage.
didn't have those slope towards the east, so it would drain on his property.
well, it would, there's
That
no,
would be taken care of through the erosion control anyways.
Right.
The permit, so that, because you can't drain on his property.
Yeah, it generally sloped towards the water, towards the road, not off to the sides.
but off to the side in this case is toward the water.
Yeah, well,
I mean, that's
in
just
one
it
portion.
is, right,
Yeah,
yeah, so
When did it come in where the floodplain requirements required a variance? Isn't that just like a few years?
we were doing it administratively, and then the
Mhm.
DNR came in and said, hey, you guys have to put this through variance. And I don't remember when that was,
Yeah, it
but within
was-
the last 10 years or
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. So depending on when they bought the property and what their plans were at the time, they may not have had to,
Yeah, we could have
you
done
know,
it administratively.
right,
Yeah.
and you would have just said, well, as long as you do the erosion control and, do everything that
Yeah.
we're requiring, you don't need a variance.
Yeah, they've owned this property for a long time,
So that,
well over 10 years.
Mhm.
so, and when they took it down even, who knows, I don't know.
Get the ball rolling. Tushel moves denial.
Outright for the entire,
The motion made, is there a second? Is there a second?
in case of discussion, I'll second it.
Okay, motion made and seconded to deny the variance request as requested. Discussion.
I would say, well, I would wonder if you would, well. You might have to vote now because I would say the east side is probably almost a given that he should get that because. he can build in that same footprint. I mean, that's what the law says. You can build in that footprint,
But he still would need a variance.
but you,
On the west.
So the
Um,
motion is to
Okay,
deny the
you're right,
entire
to deny,
variance.
right.
With the second.
okay.
Yeah, but we're discussing it, so.
Yeah,
Is it possible to partially deny and partially approve?
yes, you can,
Absolutely.
yeah, you can approve with conditions or approve not as requested.
What does it take for me to modify my motion?
Just amend it.
Okay, Tushel moves to amend for partial denial. Allowing the fill on the east side at 8.1 feet.
I had the west
Oh.
at 8.1 and the east at 10.1.
Yeah,
10.1.
Okay, reverse that.
At 10.1. Your second the amendment?
I'll second that.
And the motion made and seconded to allow the 15, excuse me, the variance of 10.1 feet on the east side of the property. And to deny the variance request of 8.1 feet on the west side of the property. Am I reading that correctly, Tom?
I believe so.
Any further discussion?
I came into this meeting with the prospect of being able to approve it completely, but I've been since convinced by the argument that they do have, if not complete, at least partial options for getting this done. Now, with the motion as presented, they're not doing what they proposed, and yet it does give them a reasonable use of their property.
Agreed.
So how would their footprint change? Would they lose this here?
So
Lose
they-
it on this
They would
side?
have to meet 15 feet from this side. They wouldn't be
Okay.
able to go down to 10.1.
Okay,
And then on this side, you're at 10.1 feet like they requested.
okay, this is okay. So they can go all the way over here.
Yep, they can.
And then
build
they
within
just
that
have to
side
shrink this up.
To 15 feet,
And that's probably just getting rid of this part right here.
correct.
Okay,
But if they would keep that, if they would keep the garage attached, then the whole thing would have to
Right.
meet the 15 feet.
Yes,
Right.
that's correct.
Right.
And nothing in the motion is telling them how they're gonna make any of these choices.
No.
No.
No, that's not,
we're just.
that's not what you're
getting rid
looking
of
at.
this.
Yep.
Right, all the way back to here.
Yep.
You've approved the variance on this side, you haven't for that side.
Okay.
That's the current motion.
Sounds good to me.
And then I noticed in the recommendation from
You,
staff, there was condition, what would the conditions be?
the conditions would be the county conditions down at the bottom.
Yeah, where it says staff recommends approval of conditions, what would the conditions be?
Applicable
All,
sanitary zoning and erosion control permits shall be submitted to the county before construction begins.
Well, that's kind of standard. going
Yeah,
away.
that's a
that
standard,
was
yeah.
just standard.
so you would have to amend, or you would have to change what we have here for your findings.
Right,
So you could do that.
well, yes and no, I mean, the findings is still, yeah, okay.
Mainly
Just
the last.
First one,
Mainly the last one,
yeah, both the first and the last. row
first and
mentions
last, yeah,
15
so
feet.
those are subject to whatever you guys would like to say. I mean, just,
Yeah. so-
whatever you come up with here.
So allows for the 10 in the second one, allows for the 10.1 feet.
Okay, there's a motion been made and seconded to approve the variance request of 10.1 feet to the,
Actually, the question is the amendment at this point.
well, that's part of the motion.
No. It's a second motion.
No, it's not, it's
an
there is a motion
amendment of
made,
the
it's
first.
made and amended. So unless you want to make it a second, because we think, okay, let's back up,
So-
then we'd have to take a vote on.
Vote on the first
On
one,
the first one,
which is to not deny outright.
okay, and then make a second motion,
Yes,
okay,
that's clean.
all right, okay, right? We'll just do it that way instead of amending it. Okay,
All right.
Yeah,
there's on a motion made and seconded to approve the variance request of,
To deny.
I'm sorry, to deny the variance request on of 10.1 feet on the east side and 8.1 feet on the west side of the proposed house. Am I reading that correctly?
Yep.
That was,
Yes.
okay. Roll call vote, Susan?
What does a no vote and what does a yes vote say?
Yes would mean
Yes
full
would
out
be
denial, no would be. No,
No,
no denial, yeah,
I'm a no then. No for the denial.
no.
I'm a no.
Okay, Tom?
No,
Okay, I vote no also,
Okay, so that
so that.
motion was,
motion
not pass.
Is denied.
Okay.
Okay, then there's been a second. Motion made and seconded to allow the 10.1. Floodplain variance on the east side of the property. And to deny the 8.1 variance request on the west side of the property. Am I reading that correctly?
yes,
Any further discussion? Okay. Roll call vote. Tom T,
I,
Tom Lee,
Aye.
Susan.
Aye.
Greg, aye.
okay,
Okay, I'm sorry, we overshot a lot here. We gotta do findings first.
that's my job, right?
So yes, that would be
Will help.
findings for granting.
Criteria 1, the requirement in question would unreasonably prevent the property owner from using the property for a permitted purpose or would render conformity with such requirement unnecessarily burdensome. In such circumstances were not self-created. Findings for approval on the 10.1 foot side. They're building within the original footprint. So it would have been allowed with the additional fill. On the west side, on the 8.1 foot side, it seems like there is room to move the house back. So that would be a finding for denial. Criteria 2, the subject property has unique physical characteristics or limitations that prevent the property from being developed in compliance with the requirement in question. Findings for approval, the property has unique buildable area shape that is not accommodating to floodplain fill requirements due to the shore yard setback requirement. Sufficient there?
I believe so. If we could go back to criteria number 1, I
Okay,
suggest for findings for approval. All we would have to do here is change outside to within. And that should cover,
I am
Also
okay with that.
existing.
Should I read it out
Yeah.
out loud that
yes,
way?
if you could.
Okay,
Findings for approval in criteria 1. The shore yard setback and floodplain requirements limit the available buildable area for new development within the existing building footprint.
well,
The comment I made for denial is still there.
Okay,
But we're asking them to go within the original footprint.
yeah,
That's
that's
why
the
it's for
finding for
approval.
approval, yeah.
On the east side.
Because that's saying the fill requirements on that east side are,
yeah, okay,
you know,
yeah,
Yeah, okay,
Okay.
limit. And
are
we're changing
limiting,
it
are
to
limiting
10.1
within
from
the existing.
15
footprint,
Yep.
yeah.
To 10.1,
Okay.
okay.
Okay, so number 2, we were on findings for denial then,
no. approval.
or I think you read approval.
Yeah.
I think we were all right with that.
Oh, okay, so for the denial on the 8.1 side, the lot is large enough in area providing room to accommodate an alternative narrow design.
Okay, so that's good there too.
Mhm,
Okay,
it's good.
Criteria 3, the granting of the variance will not be contrary to or harm the public interest, given the general purpose of zoning regulations and the specific purposes of the requirement in question. On the approval portion, the proposed house is similar to the existing pattern of development in the surrounding area, so public interest will not be harmed. For the denial, meeting the 15-foot floodplain fill requirement will not harm the public interest.
I think for the denial,
Can't be known.
you could say meeting the 15-foot floodplain fill requirement on the west side will not harm the public interest.
Doesn't that statement then become the finding for the approval part?
That would be for denial of the,
8 point, the
On the west.
the west side.
on the west side.
Okay,
On the west side, I suppose, if you put after floodplain.
okay, findings for denial, meeting the 15-foot floodplain fill on the west side requirement. Would harm the public interest.
Will not harm.
They're meeting it.
Oh, and yeah, we're denying 8.1, so
Yep.
meeting the 15-foot
Yep,
floodplain fill requirement on the west side will not harm the public interest.
okay.
Then criteria 1 on 26.6-7A. The variance is consistent with the purpose of the floodplain zoning code. Findings for approval, the request still allows
And just scrub that 8.1
No.
feet.
10.1 feet of floodplain fill on the sides of the structure. The full 15 feet of fill will be met on the street and shore side
And.
And
and
west
west side
Okay,
of the structure.
okay,
Do we need denial in there? Yeah.
yeah,
Findings for denial, the reductions in floodplain fill will not offer as much protection as a full 15 feet wide would. And there is, and risk of potential uplift of the foundation may be greater. Based on the above findings, it is the opinion of the board that all of the criteria of Article 7, Division 12, Section 23.723 core town county zoning code have been met in part and have not been met in part,
have been met, not as requested, I think we should say.
have been met not as requested.
Do we need to have the conditions in there? Or is that just standard?
Yeah, I would leave our county conditions in there,
When they add that in there, Tom?
unless you want to add anything else. You're welcome to do so.
And conditions in the request from the town must meet all floodplain requirements, and from the county, all applicable sanitary zoning and erosion control permits shall be submitted to the county before construction again begins.
Okay, yeah, yeah, we've done that. Should have done this differently. Okay. Is it okay to have the findings read into the record after the vote?
Yeah, just say go through the roll call vote again, just
Okay,
to be kosher.
yeah, we're gonna vote on the original motion was made and seconded to deny the 15-foot or the reduction in short or floodplain setback for the east and west side of
I don't think you need to do that one, just do the one where you're,
disapproval.
just the, yeah.
Okay.
just the
we've done a
Approval
motion
not
made,
as requested.
seconded, with conditions to approve the requested variance on the east side of the property at 10.1 feet and to deny the request on the west side of 8.1 feet in floodplain fill requirement
With,
with
Town.
conditions.
okay,
One in county.
Town and county conditions.
okay.
All right. Susan,
Hi.
Tom V,
I,
Tom V, Greg, aye. Change your motion to carry.
Motion to adjourn?
You want to make a motion to adjourn?
I would love to.
I'll
Motion
second
made
that.
and second to adjourn, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Hi.
Opposed? Motion carries.